Hello, my friend. My name is Becky Garner, and I'm a Master Certified Coach. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is how we can manage our pain and decrease our pain response using our brain. And I want to give a little disclaimer first, okay? I am not a doctor. I am not a chiropractor. I am not a neuroscientist. I am someone who has experienced about 20 plus years of chronic pain, and I've studied pain management and I've studied the brain and I've studied mindset and I put it all together in a way that helps me to manage and reduce the pain that I feel on a daily basis. And I would just love to share that with you. I'm going to teach you a little bit about how your brain works with pain. And then I want to give you a tool or a technique that's going to help you to reduce pain when you're feeling it in the moment. So the first thing that we have to understand is where pain is created. And you can see it from my board right here. I'm telling you up front where pain is created. Pain is created in the brain. And this, honestly, it blew my mind when I first learned this. It completely blew my mind because when we experience pain, we feel it in our body, right? If I herniate a disc in my back, if I break my arm, if I get a sprain in my neck, I feel it in the location at that spot in my body. It feels like it comes directly from my body. And if I were to guess, I'd say it's from my body and then it goes to my brain. But that's the exact opposite. Pain is generated in the brain. Your brain is completely responsible for all of the pain that you feel. And I'm going to give you a little example so you understand how this works. I will go with the universal example that everyone's done before. You stub your toe, and what happens is the sensors in your toe are going to send a signal to your spinal cord, and it's going to send the message up from the spinal cord into the brain. When the brain receives this message, I think of it like a little text. It's like my toe texted my brain and said, hey, something happened down here. Okay. When the brain receives it, the brain's got to look at it and say, is this dangerous? Have we ever injured this spot before? Do we need to immobilize or freeze the body? Like, what's going on with the toe? It's going to analyze it. And then, based on how much danger it perceives you're in, it will either send a signal or not send a signal. Okay. And it happens lightning fast, right? It's not like it takes time to really do all of that. It just happens so fast. Okay. So if the brain perceives that there's danger, it's going to send a signal right away. Pain, stop, don't move. You just sprained your ankle. You just broke your toe. You herniated a disc. Something happened. Don't move your body. It's protective. We want that pain to signal us that something's happened so we don't injure ourselves further. If the brain goes down and looks at the body and says, oh, actually, this is not that big of a deal, or I'm prioritizing something else, then we don't get a pain signal. Have you ever finished a day where you have a bruise on your arm and like your spouse or your kids or something, you're like, where'd you get that bruise? You're like, I have no idea. I don't know what happened. It doesn't really hurt. Maybe it's a little tender right now once I notice it. I didn't notice it when it happened. That's your brain going, that's not that dangerous. I'm prioritizing something else. For example, if you were running and you got scraped by a tree or like a bush or something like that, if you were jogging in the mountains or on a path where there's lots of bushes, it may prioritize the movement of the muscle, the heart rate, breathing over the sensation of that bush scraping your leg or your arm or something like that. So there's a really fantastic example of this. It's a real case study that was reported in the medical journal. And I read about it in a book called The Way Out by Alan Gordon. And it's such a good book. If any of you have chronic pain or deal with a lot of pain, or you don't even want to find yourself in a situation where you have to live with chronic pain, like if you had a surgery and you want to make sure it heals really well, please read this book, The Way Out by Alan Gordon. And in this book, he talks about a man who is on his job site and a nail gets driven straight through his boot. It goes straight through his boot, straight through his foot. And of course, the man is screaming hysterically. He's in immense pain. He's got a nail straight through his foot. And they get him all the way to the hospital. And they're like, how do we get this boot off? And they have to cut the boot off to make sure that everything's okay to protect the foot. And what they find when they get the boot off is the nail has gone directly between two toes. Directly between two toes. There was no tissue damage, not a scratch, nothing. And yet the man was in hysterical, screaming pain. He was like, I was in so much pain. And that's because pain happens in the brain. His brain looked down and saw a nail through his foot and went danger, and it hit an alarm and it sent tons of pain down there. Don't move your foot. immobilize it. We got to find out what's happened. This is so cool because pain is not a direct reading of injury. It's your brain's opinion of how much danger you're in. That's it. Okay. And the coolest part about that is if we can get the brain to calm down, then we can actually reduce pain. Highly active emotional brain means high amount of pain. Calm, safe brain means reduce pain, decrease pain. So hopefully I've driven this in. The part I really want you to understand is if the brain can create pain, then it can also reduce pain or turn it down. What neuroscience has shown us is that our emotions are highly tied to our pain response. What this means is the higher our emotions are, the stronger our emotions are, the bigger our pain response. The calmer our emotions, the calmer our pain response. Okay, so if you haven't watched the video where I talk about managing your pain with your brain, I want you to watch that because your emotions are generated by your thoughts. And it's so important that we manage our thoughts and become intentional and purposeful with our thoughts so that we can start reducing our pain. And so higher emotions, stronger pain, lower emotions, less pain. And the most important part to reducing the pain in the brain is creating safety in the brain. We have to create safety in the brain. The brain loves to feel safe. Your brain loves to feel safe. Okay. It sounds so funny, but it loves to feel safe. It has the amygdala in there, right? And your amygdala is the part that's responsible for your fight or flight system, sending you into a parasympathetic state or a sympathetic state. The sympathetic state is the one where we get fight, flight, freeze. So if the brain perceives injury, it's going to go into the sympathetic system. It's going to send off all these alarms. It's going to send pain. And our job is to calm our brain down and get control of it so that we can create safety in the brain so it'll turn the alarm off. And I'm going to give you a really cool mantra that's going to help you with that. And then I want to share a story with you that's going to tie that in. So here's the mantra. I actually wrote it down for you. This is also came directly out of Alan Gordon's book, The Way Out. And this is the mantra. This is my body sending a signal to my brain. My brain is interpreting as pain, and I am safe. All we're doing is we're narrating exactly what's happening. We're narrating and telling our brain and our body exactly what's happening. This is my body sending a signal to my brain. My brain is interpreting it as pain. I am safe. It might sound a little silly to say, but it's really, really powerful. And I'm going to give you an example of it. Okay. You're going to want to focus on the vacuum in the story. Try not to focus on the vacuum. I want you to hear how I stopped pain with my brain. This is amazing. Okay. So let me tell you about the vacuum first. I have this vacuum and it shocks me. I know I should have bought a new vacuum. I should have, used the warranty, got a new vacuum. I didn't. I just put on rubber gloves. I was like, I'll just wear rubber gloves and vacuum, right? Whenever I get shocked, my heart races. I sweat. I feel really anxious and nervous. I just hate getting shocked so much. And the more I get like this, the bigger the shock. Like it will get bright. Like I will actually see the shock on my hand get like more bright. Like I don't know what's happening, but I get a bigger shock the more anxious I get. So I just thought, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try this mantra while I'm cleaning the stairs. Normally when I clean the stairs, it's a little hand vac. It will just shock me until I'm just like, I can't even take it. So I took off my rubber glove and I told myself, this is my body sending a signal to my brain. My brain is interpreting it as pain and I am safe. And I went along and the first shock was really big and my heart raced. And I started to sweat and I started to feel hot. And then I said the mantra again. This is my body sending a signal to my brain. My brain is interpreting it as pain and I am safe. And as I started repeating that over and over, I started to feel calm and grounded and centered in my body. And my heart didn't pound so hard and I didn't feel so sweaty. And guess what happened? The shocks got smaller and smaller and smaller. Not only, because it shocks me right here on my hand, not only did the pain get less and less and less, but the actual shock itself went down to a very, very small shock. It was amazing. somebody smarter than me that's going to have to explain like how my energy influenced the shocking of the vacuum. But it was amazing. So not only did I reduce that pain response in my body, but also the shock was just less. So then I started using it all the time. Whenever I would have a disc herniation or a spasm in my back, I just started saying it over and over. This is my body sending a signal to my brain. My brain is interpreting as pain, and I am safe. And the longer I said it, the more my body would relax. My muscles would relax. My breath would relax. And the pain would reduce and reduce and reduce. It never went completely away, but it would just reduce to a place where it was manageable and I could stay at the party or I could stay at the event or I could stay at the movie theater so that I could enjoy having a life and live with chronic pain at the same time. Okay, so what I really want you to hear is high emotional brain equals high pain response. Calm, intentional, grounded brain equals decreased or reduced pain response. And just remember the way that we calm our emotions and our brain is with intentional thinking, intentional thoughts. If the mantra that I gave you, this one right here, if that felt a little too clinical for you, I love it because it's just narrating exactly what's happening in my body. I truly am safe in that moment. Like I'm just sitting in the theater, or even if I fell and broke my leg, like I actually am safe. Like I'm okay. I'm not going to die. I want to teach my brain that it's safe. So I love it because it's just narrating exactly what's happening. It's like a movie and somebody's just telling me what's happening and how this is going. The other way we can do it is we can think about the way that we would talk to an animal that's injured. If you had a dog or a cat or maybe a horse that's been injured and it's really scared and it's kicking and thrashing and acting out, like how would you speak to that animal? How would you calm it? We wouldn't be like, I can't stand this. I'm not going to be able to do it. This is crazy. It'll never get better. We wouldn't say that to the animal. We'd be like, it's okay. Got you. I'm going to help you out. So we're going to calm the brain down, okay? So once again, check out the book, The Way Out by Alan Gordon. Such a good book for anybody who deals with chronic pain or even, I think it's useful for acute pain as well. He gears it towards chronic pain, but I have found it useful for acute pain. And if you want, you can find me at beckygarnercoaching.com. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you out. Thanks. Take care.